The wind was screaming past my ears, and I was on the back of a motorcycle, and I was 20 years old again. I didn't understand it at first. One moment, I was lying on the cold kitchen floor of our apartment, Troy's fists raining down on my face, his voice roaring that I was worthless, that I had ruined his life, that he should have killed me years ago. And then I was here, on a motorcycle, my arms wrapped around a boy's waist, the night air cold against my skin, the city lights blurring past like watercolors. I knew this road, that I knew this night. I had lived it once before, in a lifetime that ended with my skull cracking against linoleum and my vision fading to black while my husband stood over me, breathing hard, already composing the story he would tell the police. She fell. She was always so clumsy did I try to save her. Troy, my boyfriend, my first love, the boy on the motorcycle who had promised to take care of me. I wrenched my body backward so fast I nearly tumbled off the bike. My hands released his waist and grabbed the cold metal rail behind me, my fingers wrapping around it so tightly my knuckles went white. The motorcycle wobbled. Troy cursed and steadied it, glancing over his shoulder at me. Whoa, hold on tight. Don't be scared, Elena. I'll take care of you. Those words, those exact words, he had said them to me in my previous life, on this exact road, on this exact night, and I had believed him. I had melted into his arms, let him take me to a cheap motel, let him take my virginity on scratchy sheets that smelled like bleach and cigarettes. I had let him get me pregnant. I had let him convince me to drop out of school, to have an abortion I didn't want, to marry him in a courthouse ceremony with no family and no flowers and no love. I had let him destroy me, piece by piece, until there was nothing left but a hollow shell of a woman who flinched at loud noises and apologized for existing. And in the end, he had beaten me to death on our kitchen floor. I knew now what I had known then. The pregnancy wasn't an accident. The romance wasn't real. Troy had never loved me. He had never even liked me. I was a bet, a wager between him and my roommate Fiona during a drunken game of truth or dare at a party I hadn't attended. Asterisk get Elena pregnant. Asterisk Fiona had dare him, laughing. Asterisk I bet you can't. She's such a frigid little church mouse. Asterisk and Troy, arrogant and entitled, had taken the bet. He had pursued me, seduced me, knocked me up. And then, because the bet required it, he had convinced me to get rid of the baby. Fiona had paid him $100. $100 to destroy my life. The motorcycle slowed. The motel sign glowed ahead of us, pink and buzzing. The same sign I had seen in my nightmares for 20 years, the Starlight Inn. Where I had lost my virginity, my future, my self-respect. Here we are. Troy said, killing the engine. Got us a room. You're gonna love it, babe. I got off the motorcycle. My legs were shaking, but my mind was clear. Crystal clear. Sharper than it had ever been. No, I said. Troy blinked. No? What do you mean, no? I mean no. I'm not going into that motel with you. I'm not sleeping with you. I'm not giving you anything. His face flickered. Surprise, then annoyance, then that familiar manipulative hurt he had weaponized so effectively in my previous life. Elena, what's wrong? I thought we had something special. I thought you loved me. You thought you could get me pregnant for $100. The color drained from his face. What? What are you talking about? I know about the bet, Troy. You and Fiona. Truth or dare. $100 if you could knock up the frigid church mouse and convince her to get an abortion. That was the deal, wasn't it? He stared at me, his mouth opening and closing like a landed fish. How? Who told you? No one told me, I just know, and I'm done. I pulled my phone from my pocket and pressed a button. I recorded everything you just said, your reaction, your guilt. The police have already been called. You're going to leave now, and you're never going to speak to me again. If you try, the recording goes public. T.O. your fraternity. T.O. your parents. T.O. the university. D.O. you understand. Troy's face cycled through shock, fury, and finally, terror. You're insane. You're completely insane. Maybe, but I'm not your victim anymore. He cursed, kicked the motorcycle to life, and roared off into the night. I stood alone in the parking lot of the Starlight Inn, watching his taillights disappear, and I felt something I hadn't felt in 20 years. Freedom. The first thing I did was go back to the dorm. Fiona was there, sitting on her bed, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when I walked in, her expression flickering with surprise. Elena, I thought you were out with Troy tonight. Change of plans. I closed the door behind me. Troy told me about the bet. Her face went very still. What bet? The truth or dare bet. Get Elena pregnant. $100. Ring any bells. Fiona's composure cracked, just for a second. Then she laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound. Oh my God, that was a joke. It was just a stupid game. I didn't think he'd actually do it. You didn't think he'd actually do it. So you offered him money to destroy my life. And when he succeeded, you just, what? Laughed about it. Elena, come on. You're being so dramatic. It was years ago. You and Troy got married. You seemed happy. I seemed happy. The words were ash in my mouth. I dropped out of school. Did I had an abortion? I didn't want it. I gave up my scholarship, my future, my entire life. And you watched it happen, knowing you caused it, and you never said a word. Fiona rolled her eyes. Look, I'm sorry, okay? Is that what you want to hear? I'm sorry I made a stupid bet when I was 19. Can we move on now? I looked at her for a long moment. The woman who had been my roommate for 2 years. The woman who had smiled at me across the breakfast table while knowing she had set in motion the destruction of everything I could have been. No, I said. We can't move on. But we're done. I packed my belongings that night. I called my mother. The mother I had been estranged from in my previous life because Troy had convinced me she was toxic and told her I needed to come home. She didn't ask questions. She just said, I'll have your room ready. The years that followed were not easy. I had lost time, lost opportunities, lost the scholarship that had been my ticket out of poverty. But I had something I hadn't had in my previous life. I had knowledge. I knew what was coming. I knew the stock market trends, the tech companies that would explode, the real estate markets that would soar, that I invested early in companies that would become giants. I bought property in neighborhoods that would gentrify. I built a fortune quietly, methodically, while I finished my degree and rebuilt my life. I also kept the recording, Troy's panicked admission, his guilt written all over his face. I never released it publicly, not because I forgave him, but because it was more useful as a sword hanging over his head. He knew I had it. He knew what it contained. And the fear of its release kept him far away from me. Fiona tried to apologize years later after she heard about my success. She sent me a long email full of excuses and justifications and pleas for reconciliation. I read it once, then I deleted it. Some things can't be fixed. Some people don't deserve forgiveness. 15 years after that night in the parking lot, I was 40 years old and the CEO of my own investment firm. I was wealthy, respected, and utterly content. I had never married. I had never had children. The abortion had left scars, both physical and emotional, that I couldn't fully heal, but I had built a life that was mine, not Troy's, not Fiona's. Not the life they had chosen for me. Troy died of a heart attack at 43, overweight and bitter, his potential squandered, his charm long faded. I didn't attend his funeral. Fiona married twice, divorced twice, and ended up working as a receptionist at a dental office. She still tells anyone who will listen about her crazy ex-roommate who ruined her reputation. I don't think about them often, but sometimes on quiet nights, I remember the girl on the back of the motorcycle, the girl who was terrified and naive and desperate to be loved. The girl who didn't know she was walking into a trap, and I forgive her. She didn't know better, but I do. The woman I became is the woman who saved herself, and I am never, ever going back.